We all know Ryan Reynolds is known for making marketing magic happen in Hollywood. Heck, he just brought back Rick Moranis after more than 24 years. While this gin-hawking, rom-com hunkin' merc with a mouth feels like he's always been around crackin' wise, never forget that there was a time before the Twitter genius. Here are a handful of Ryan Reynolds roles you may have forgotten about. Nobody can forget when they saw Ryan's Deadpool screen test leaked. That pitch-perfect casting and the marketing was made to be remembered. So, it's not on this list. And while we might want to forget his take on DC's Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern franchise, it exists now. X-Men Origins too. Look, that was then, and sure, now Reynolds is a staple of our comedic nerd zeitgeist, but allow us at ScreenRant to remind you of some roles that may not have burnt their way into your memory. Do you all remember Marvel before the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, there were some movies, and most of them were pretty weird. In Blade Trinity, David Goyer takes the director's chair after he wrote the first Blade movie, and then Guillermo del Toro took the franchise in a whole new direction with the second. In this third bloody outing, the franchise sees the jacked vampire-hunting Blade, played by Wesley Snipes, enlisting the help of a fast-talking vampire turned hunter, played by our guy Ryan Reynolds. His character, Hannibal King, helps Blade, who is now wanted by the FBI and forced to work with the Night Stalkers to face his most challenging enemy yet, Dracula. Look, man, it was 2004 and we were just happy to see these guys slicing their way through the undead. Wait, do vampires count as undead or is it just zombies? Either way, there is so much slicing and shooting thanks to this film's R rating that by the time the 37th vampire flies through the window, with Goyer's quick cut editing, sure, we were enjoying it, but we forgot why we were here in the first place plot-wise. The movie was mostly panned by critics for being way more camp than the first two, and the script made little attempt at a straight plot, but it did give us a taste of that foul-mouthed pretty boy charm we've come to love Reynolds for. While Snipes broods through most of Blade Trinity, Reynolds' Hannibal keeps us chuckling our way through the confusion. In this coming-of-middle-age indie film, Reynolds plays an imaginary superhero friend to Jeff Daniels' Richard, who is a novelist suffering from writer's block. With a miserable marriage and a bunch of strange quirks, the neurotic Richard locks himself in a Long Island cabin to write about birds. Clearly, this guy's your stock awkward fella in an indie film with no friends. This is where we find out that Ryan acts as an imaginary superhero buddy named Captain Excellent, who tries to coach and tease Richard into figuring himself out. Captain Excellent makes a good distraction for the severely unlikable crank that is Richard. It all changes when Daniel's Richard rides a tiny red bike into town and meets a real-life friend in Emma Stone's troubled high schooler named Abby. Abby is dealing with a lot herself, and they become a quick indie movie cliche. While Ryan is fun to have around in this movie, it doesn't distract you from realizing how toxic this circle of dependence is when you watch it. Let's see what's next instead. Okay, just the idea of this film gives me the heebie-jeebies, and I realize how many comments I'll get for using the term heebie-jeebies. An American truck driver working in Iraq in 2006 slowly realizes he's trapped inside a wooden coffin buried alive. This movie is mostly all Ryan for 95 minutes with nothing but a lighter and a cell phone. If you're claustrophobic, you may want to take a hard pass, but you'll be missing out on what might be some of Ryan's best dramatic work as he agonizes to find a way out of his predicament. He doesn't need much to keep this film tense, as director Rodrigo Cortés somehow makes a fast-paced thriller out of a guy in a box. Surprisingly, Reynolds is able to balance the absurdity of the situation with the humorous reality of the outside world. What could be a grim film turns into something truly exciting and gripping. Alright, while you may say that this is more of a cameo than a role, we could not forget when Ryan grabbed our high heroes and pulled them into the ER. Or maybe we did forget. It is a stoner movie after all. Harold and Kumar are on their never-ending quest to get some delicious White Castle burgers. Not a sponsor, we're just fans of their mouth-watering bags of sliders. In only a couple of minutes of screen time, we see Ryan upstage the stars of the film, playing a nurse flailing with Harold and Kumar about using pot as a sedative. As blood comically spurts from fellow Canadian comedian Boyd Banks' chest, the trio decide how to best handle it. Ryan gets a little into the way Kumar takes charge, and that classic Reynolds absurdity is put into full view. Ryan and Jason Bateman team up as Mitch and Dave in a pretty middling studio comedy about inseparable best friends who grew apart as they aged. Reynolds' character Mitch is an irresponsible, womanizing snark. Hey, am I starting to see a theme here? Meanwhile, Bateman's Dave is a father, lawyer, and can't get a break. As happens in typical zany studio comedy fashion, we find ourselves following our heroes on one fateful night where Mitch and Dave are peeing in a fountain, lightning strikes, and they switch bodies. While critically panned, it had some good laughs, and what really stands out is our man doing what he does oh so well: snark and potty humor. I hope that pays off with a roll down the road. You can't talk about the Ray without— Can we agree to call him that now? Can we start a thing here in the comments? Anyway, you can't talk Ray without a little rom-com. In this 2008 film from director Adam Brooks, we see a softer side to our fast-talking beau. Reynolds is a New York dad who spends the film explaining divorce and relationships to his 11-year-old daughter Abigail Breslin. Should be weird, right? She asks about his life before marriage, and he tells her about his past with different women, and it's up to his daughter Maya to put the pieces together to figure out which relationship is the one he finally ended up with, only to be divorcing now. As the movie carries on, the drawing power of Ryan comes through as he has to figure out if his decision is the right one or if the memories spark ideas of second chances. In this dark 2007 action comedy, Joe Carnahan casts Reynolds as an FBI agent attempting to break up the mafia of the Las Vegas underground. They're trying to get Buddy Aces Israel, played by Jeremy Piven, to turn on the mob in exchange for protection, and 109 minutes of shaky cam violence ensues. Since he was playing a weapons expert in the film, Reynolds spent 2 months with a British Special Forces trainer in order to be believable enough with his gunplay to pull off the role. He brought it up in an article for Indie London where he stated, "Being Canadian, we're born allergic to guns, so I had to get pretty good." For this big of an ensemble cast featuring names like Ray Liotta, Ben Affleck, Andy Garcia, and more, it was up to Ryan to make his character stand tall among the stars early in his career. While the movie is hit or miss, the months of gunplay are definitely felt in his character of Richard Messner. More of an attempt at the calm side than a typical heartfelt rom-com, this Chris Brander is a music producer who was awkward as a teen and carries the weight of teen rejection with him into adulthood. After he confesses his feelings to his longtime friend and high school crush Jamie, played by Amy Smart, she responds by saying she just wants to be friends, which sends Reynolds' character into a years-long spiral into becoming a handsome playboy music exec. Reynolds comes back into the picture years later while attempting to sign a new client played by an over-the-top Anna Faris. Chris attempts to show off his new peacock feathers to impress Jamie. None of this goes exactly as planned, and chaos ensues as his retaliation hits a series of stumbling blocks. In the hands of another actor, this film could have been a total train wreck, and the fat suit does not exactly hold up to modern standards. But Reynolds might just be one of those stars who can simultaneously play the jerk executive and the goofy lovable guy in the same movie and still pull it off. Adventureland is a 2009 American comedy drama film written and directed by Greg Mottola, starring Jesse Eisenberg pre-Lex Luthor and Kristen Stewart in her early twilight. The movie takes place in a busted-down amusement park in the summer of 1987, with Eisenberg's character James as a Pennsylvania student trying to make some money with a summer job. Despite wanting to work on the rides, he's placed as managing the games and gets to know some of the other park workers, including another games worker named M. Stewart, who he begins to fall for. Among the colorful characters at the park, we meet Mike, played by Reynolds, who is a sleazy park maintenance man. He lies about being such a good musician that he jammed with the legendary Lou Reed and routinely messes around behind the back of his wife, most notably with Stewart's M. With a stacked cast and a certified fresh rating of 88%, this film is a great coming-of-age dramedy with other notable cast members dropping in, such as Martin Starr, Bill Hader, and Kristen Wiig. But Ryan's Mike steals his steams by being the bad guy you love to hate. As he stated in a 2009 article for MovieWeb, "It wasn't my goal to make him that likable, so I failed you." Alright, I know what you're thinking. Though not a movie per se, this is 10 Ryan Reynolds roles you forgot about. It's for sure a DVD box set somewhere, so we're counting it. It's here Reynolds really broke into the mainstream with this role as a suave grad student who works, you guessed it, at a pizza place. He's one of the guys. Even though they shortened it to the still kinda long titled Two Guys and a Girl, the show was created by Kenny Schwartz and Danny Jacobson and ran 4 seasons ending in 2001. It is here that Ryan played Michael Leslie Bergen, or Berg, who is a typical do-nothing just trying to get by with his buddy Pete and the girl who lives in the apartment above, Sharon Carter. Settle down, MCU fanboys. Ryan's boyish charisma and comedic timing is on full display in this show, playing off against the neurotic straight man of Richard Ruccolo and the sweet yet confident Trailer Howard, who also ends up marrying Nathan Fillion in the 2nd season. The show let fans vote on its ending, but after ABC moved its time slot in season 4, the show was cancelled. Throughout the series, it's Ryan's antics that carry most of the episodes, and a lot of how he ended up on casting calls came from his start as the quick-witted mouthy Berg. Ryan has had some unappreciated hits and whiffs at bat throughout his career, but you gotta love that he's a larger-than-life character both on screen and off. What Ryan roles did you forget about? Let us know in the comments or tweet Ryan about this video. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe to ScreenRant to get alerted about more great videos.